All right, joining me this morning is the defense attorney for Taylor Schabusiness, Christopher Freilich. Thank you so much, Chris, for being with me. I want to first begin with your reaction to not one but two unanimous verdicts this week against your client, one for the murder of Shad Therian and then also denying and rejecting the fact that she suffered from a mental disease or defect at the time.
Yes, good morning. Obviously, we presented our best case. We had defense experts, forensic psychologist provide some testimony, but at the end of the day, the jury made their decision, entered their verdict that found her not to have a mental disease or mental defect.
What was your client's reaction to the verdicts?
I think she was really, I don't know if she necessarily understood what was going on. I think she was suffering from some mental health issues, some impairment, and the plan is to go and talk with her today to, fully discuss what happened at trial.
I do know that you had a competency hearing right before the trial started. You were hoping to show the jury that she was not competent to stand trial. Were you able to effectively communicate with her through the process this week?
Yes, I was. I was able to talk with her. As you saw during the trial, she didn't write notes, although she was able to interact with me. I think that she's a young lady that has many problems, many mental health challenges, and that's difficult.
I do know that when the judge wanted to inquire of her right to testify or to waive her right to testify, you asked the judge to include an extra inquiry about her being pressured to or not to testify. Was that just out of precaution, or was there some other reason as to why you wanted to have that included?
No, that's kind of a standard practice to make sure that the defendant, the client, doesn't feel that they're pressured to make a decision either way, that it's their choice. So I felt that that might be a good colloquy for the judge to have with Ms. Schabusiness, and the judge did that.
Now, viewers, we were only able to see her on camera in the courtroom, and of course I was able to see her in person being inside the courtroom yesterday, but what more can you tell us about Taylor Schabusiness from working with her?
Well, I can tell you that she's had a difficult life. I think she's got drug addiction issues. She's got underlying deep-seated mental health problems. She has family of origin issues, dealing with some abuse. She was involved in an abusive marriage where her husband hit her in the head. So she has many challenges that will have to be sorted through, and we're looking forward to the sentencing hearing in September to address some of these issues with the court for the court's consideration in determining what kind of sentence she is to receive.
Indeed, and of course, we were able to see which your expert did address some of her reactions inside the courtroom, laughing at times, smirking, staring at the camera, and in previous hearings even attacked her former defense attorney. Were you ever worried of that, first of all? And what do you make of her reactions and odd behavior inside the courtroom?
Some of those behaviors I thought were bizarre and odd. No, I was never concerned about any issues with regards to my safety. I think that as a lawyer, if you have a good rapport with your client, communicate with your client, and the client knows that you're doing everything you possibly can, then you build trust. So that's kind of the perspective that I took in the case. I did watch the video where she had that apparent incident with prior counsel, but it didn't even wasn't a consideration in my case. In my representation, I wasn't worried
Yeah, I was
about
in
that.
there. That's so interesting. Last night, when the verdict was read, she was flanked by 2 deputies who did not take their eyes off of her just in case she made a movement. She was not handcuffed. And you mentioned some of the video that you've seen. We witnessed a video of her what looked like she was making like a gun or pulling a trigger on a gun inside the courtroom when the judge was speaking. Did you notice that at all?
That's an interesting question. During the trial, I didn't notice it. I know that I would look over periodically at my client frequently, but I did not see that. But later on, I did see that on the video. It's hard to decipher what that was, who that was intended for. So that's my comment on that.
This had to have been a difficult case for you. It's probably one of the most graphic trials that we've covered at Court TV with all the gory details. As an attorney, how did you prepare in representing her in that way and for your own mental health?
Yes, well, I've been a lawyer for 33 years. I've handled homicide trials in Sheboygan County and have other matters, handled lots of trials. This was by far one of the most graphic, complex, and difficult cases I've ever been involved in. From the graphic, gruesome photographs to the motions that I filed lots of different motions addressing many different legal issues. So I started right out of the gate with attacking some of those problems that I saw that I outlined in my motions. And I essentially worked on the case every single day. I got my materials organized into binders, read all of the reports, organized the reports, got experts involved. I know that at least for a motion hearing, we had a pharmacologist and conferred with him because of the fact that methamphetamine use was prevalent in this case. Also conferred and consulted with a forensic psychologist because I knew that mental health issues were very prevalent in this case, and then just had numerous conferences and meetings with my client and prepared for trial. And that's what we did. We put on our best case. We did the best job we could. We vigorously fought for justice and for her rights and advanced our legal position at trial.
You did mention the pharmacologist, James O'Donnell, I believe is who you're referring to, and the judge offered you a chance for a Daubert hearing to assess the admissibility of his testimony, and that was something that you did not choose to have. Tell us more about that decision, and do you regret not pursuing that?
No, we initially had Dr. O'Donnell, James T. O'Donnell from Illinois, hired as a defense expert, and he testified at the earlier motion hearing, I believe in June, with regards to drug usage and how that would impact consent to waive Miranda rights, consent to submit to DNA, consent for other issues. And then at the trial, there were some areas of opinion that he was not able to necessarily opine or give opinions on because, he's a pharmacologist. And so a lot of the information that we were able to provide was bore out through the forensic psychologist. So because of the court's colloquy and based on our own analysis, we knew that voluntary intoxication was not a defense. And so ultimately we decided not to call him as a witness at the trial because we also had Dr. Lighton who...
go ahead.
We had Dr. Lighton to testify on all of these issues that were of concern.
Yes, Dr. Lighton, she came across great inside the courtroom, great expert witness for you. What is next, though, for Taylor Schabusiness?
Well, what is going to happen is the court will order a pre-sentence investigation report. That's a report prepared by the Department of Corrections. It'll contain information about the events, about her background, her family history, drug usage, her child, prior record, many other things that the Department of Corrections feel might be appropriate for the judge to know about. And then at the end of the report, it'll have a recommendation. So that'll give the court some idea a little bit more about her background. Obviously, the court's going to rely on what I have to tell the court and what the prosecutors have to tell the court. The defense will be looking at having an independent pre-sentence investigation report prepared. The defense will also be looking at possibly having some witnesses to testify on her behalf, but we have to make some contacts and do some further follow-up.
You know, I only have seconds left with you, unfortunately, but one last thing. We know her husband Warren's on Facebook talking about the system failing her. She has a daughter. Just real quickly, your thoughts on that issue of how this kind of went under the radar for too long.
Well, it's sad. Obviously, you heard the testimony that she was at the Nicolay Psychiatric Center under a civil commitment, and then she got out, and then she had her baby. And her baby was
I'm so
sent to live with
sorry,
the grandparents in
Chris.
Texas.
I asked you a loaded question, and I am out of time, and we're up against the top of the hour. But I want to thank you so much for being on with me today. And stay tuned. We'll have much more coming up next on Court TV.